Okay, YouTube. This is a video I'd hoped I would not have had to make, but unfortunately circumstances have meant that yes, I've had to make it. YouTube, I need your help. Internet, I need your help. Don't worry, I'm not asking for money, and it's not for me. It's actually for a particular family. Where can I start this? Well, I think this goes back into the video I'm working on at the moment about the stolen and abandoned generations in Aboriginal culture, and I just want to make sure there is a difference between the two. The stolen generation was abhorrent, where children were taken from their families for no reason and placed into often abusive places like that were often run by the church, just in an attempt to destroy the Aboriginal culture. That was basically it, to eradicate the Aboriginal culture. It was part of what was called the White Australia policy, and it ended, would you believe, in 1970s. So it's within our lifetimes, not mine, but within my parents' lifetime that it ended. But what's happened now is a equal but opposite reaction, where Aboriginal children are not being taken from environments. And on top of that, you're also seeing policies where Aboriginal children are being incarcerated at staggering amounts and often tortured and placed in solitary confinement in these places. But it's also made it near impossible for Aboriginal children to be adopted, particularly by non-Aboriginal people, which is why there's so few Aboriginal adoptions. And it has also led to a policy where if a child is actually removed from a home, they double down on the must be placed with family, even if the people they're being placed with, if it's not in the best interest of the child. But they will double down on taking the children out of a safe foster environment and placing them with family, often states away, even if that environment's not good, because they're family. And that's what I want to talk about today, is a little girl, a little 2-year-old girl. Now, this story of his family begins about a decade ago, when a young girl was taken from her parents, well, her mother in particular, because of, well, it wasn't a safe environment for a child, and placed with foster parents, loving couple, who had fostered other children in the past. A couple of years later, the little girl's brother was placed with them as well. At one point, that little girl was moved from her foster carer to live with a relative several states away, and while she was there, something horrendous happened to that girl. I don't know what. I don't want to know what. But I do know she was removed from that placement from the family, back to the foster carer that her brother was with. And the little girl, nightmares every night, scared of touching, scared of people, scared of getting in trouble. And it took a long time for that girl to recover. She had PTSD from her placement, basically. Anyway, those foster parents adored those children so much that they fought for, and it was a hard fight, to adopt them. And they were successful. They actually were able to adopt this little boy and girl legally. These foster parents are now honorary members of the Aboriginal community. Their 2 children attend the local Aboriginal co-op, where they learn their culture, they learn their language, they can speak the language, they learn the history. The whole family is very entrenched in the culture now. And it's actually, like I said, their parents, even though they're Anglo, are honorary members of the Aboriginal community and can actually speak some of the language themselves. They're very much entrenched in the culture. Which brings us to the situation now, where this boy and girl have a little sister who's currently 2. When the girl was 4 days old, she was removed from her mother and placed into this foster family with her brother and sister. And that was fine until the last year or so, where it was looked like when a distant relative, several states away, who's connected to the same person who fostered her older sister, where something terrible happened, applied to take this girl. And the policy is that the children have to be with family. Well, they took in this, it's gone through the courts and everything, and it's been decided they're going to remove this little girl from her brother and sister, who she's been with since 4 days old, and place her several states away where they will have no connection to her. I'm sorry, it's... everyone connected to it's upset. Her brother and sister are completely devastated. They're losing their little sister. And it's been fought and fought and fought to keep this girl with her brother and sister and away from these people. Yes, they're relatives, they're distant relatives. And the last time her older sister went up to this place, something bad happened to her. And yes, it's a different person, but it's still connected. But they're putting the distant relative above keeping this girl with her brother and sister. And like I said, the brother and sister are adopted. They're immersed in the culture. They're immersed in... They're taking this little girl away, this 2-year-old, from her brother and sister, simply because an arsehole distant relative wants her. How is that right? Tell me, YouTube, how is that right? We need to get this out there, how bad this is. How the interests of the child are being negated because some arsehole distant relative doesn't care. If this distant relative really cared, he would keep the little girl with her brother and sister in a loving family where she's been since she was 4 days old, who she doesn't want to be left separated from. These two foster parents are the only mum and dad she's known, and of course they still have connections to her biological mother. They still see the mother, so this child's going to be taken away from her mother too, her biological mother, and away from her brother and sister, who are a mess, to say the least, because of a stupid policy that says that these Aboriginal children must be placed in Aboriginal culture, Aboriginal families, and that takes precedent. This is what we're talking about, the abandoned generation. This is one of the parts of the abandoned generation, where children are being separated from siblings to go live in Aboriginal communities against their best interest in many cases. Like I said, it's not that this child has been taken away from learning about her culture, her language. She already speaks some of it. She's learning it where she is. But a distant relative takes precedent over a brother and sister, biological brother and sister. So YouTube, please, get this out. Message or email the Department of Child Services in Australia. I'll try and find the links and put them in the description. Asked them how this is fair that a 2-year-old's been taken away from her brother and sister. Just spread this, get it out. We've got to fix this policy. We've got to fix this to stop this from happening. Children should, family, brothers and sisters should be kept together. Siblings should be kept together. So please, just, I don't know what else to do. We've tried everything. Help keep these 3 kids together. Hopefully next video I'll be a bit happier and hopefully I'll have good news, but help. Keep on fighting, YouTube.